Hello and welcome to IT Quality Index. This on-demand webinar has been brought to you in partnership with ITSMF Czech Republic and SDI. My name is Jonathan Boyd. I'm one of the co-authors, and I'm joined today with Zdeněk Kvapil, the lead author of the IT Quality Index.
Hello to everyone. My name is Zdeněk Kvapil, and I'm lead author of the IT Quality Index Quality Management Framework.
What we're going to talk about is the IT Quality Index, looking at how IT quality is currently managed within IT, and discuss the model which was set out in the body of knowledge in the IT Quality Index book available through Amazon, talking about the core concepts and why this would be important to you.
So what is IT, a cost or an asset? For many years, IT was benchmarked as a cost in most companies. So Gartner and similar companies are performing costs benchmarks. But only recently, those consulting companies started to realize that when we look at IT from cost perspective, we are missing something. And as Peter Sondergaard mentioned, the cost approach was wrong. We should look at IT with this different perspective.
I agree. Now, I think everybody recognizes now that for too long, organizations have viewed IT as really just a cost, something that they have to have, but they want to have it at the lowest possible cost, a bit like car insurance. You're going to have it, but you want to get it at the lowest possible cost. And IT is so much more in the digital age that we're moving into. The capabilities required for an organization to be successful mean that IT is vital to the success of an organization.
And on this slide, we see this dilemma. Either we see IT as a cost, and then IT managers and CIOs and executives, they are trying to get those costs below certain limits, like below certain cost benchmarks. And the question is whether it is correct. Should IT cost be lower than average, or we should properly fund IT as an asset?
And I think the important point here is that if we continually talk to the rest of the organization, especially the executive, about IT as a cost, we frame it in the sense of costs and the FTEs, etc. But what we're completely missing here is the quality level and measurement of what IT can actually achieve. What extra can we deliver to the business that is so vitally important? CEOs all over are asking for much more. They're asking for more innovation. They're asking for IT to step in and be a part of the organization rather than just a service provider, and to be able to measure and understand that in a way that makes sense to people outside of IT without using the typical terminologies associated with IT and service management.
Exactly. And this is the problem, that most people agree that IT is an asset, but if it's asset, we should understand whether this asset is good or not so good. So this is a important question. If CEO is asking question whether IT is good or not so good, how do we answer, or how should CIO answer this question?
And typically, what we've found with engagements with organizations right across EMEA is the kind of go-to is to look at all sorts of quantitative statistics. How many tickets solved, costs. All of this is framed in that same way, giving a plethora of different KPIs and metrics, all of which really are met with a natural viewpoint of, well, how do we reduce those? If it's cost, etc., how do we reduce that? Whereas we're not talking about the potential or the value that's being delivered from it, which has always been a very challenging point for IT to try and communicate. Through the use of our best practices, we always end up coming up at odds against non-IT people and trying to educate them on our practices, the way that we work, our terminologies, etc., before they can truly understand what the value of IT is. And this is exactly the point that we want to focus on how to help you communicate the value of IT back into your organization.
So the question is, what is quality? And most people start with this definition. It's ISO definition, which says that quality means degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfill requirements. But the question is whether this definition is correct.
We've followed the kind of the international standards as a way of measuring compliance to certain practices, to make sure we've got certain things in place. However, it was never really designed around this type of quality, which is something that we'll explore in just a moment. And I guess my question is, if you think about this, does meeting requirements or doing what you've been asked, does that really say quality to you? Think about your own personal life where, somebody's done just exactly what you asked them to do, to one degree or another. Has that given you the level of quality that you expect, or is it something else?
So what is the ISO logic? The logic is that customer is requesting something and service provider is delivering service or product. And the ISO approach is that quality means meeting SLAs.
And this is one of the major frustrations that I hear from non-IT executives who have specific challenges and problems in today's world. They need to be able to meet their goals, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for IT to really step up and help to solve their challenges. So when we talk about service provider models that we've used over the last years, it's quite a foreign concept for them. They don't quite understand this point of internal IT acting like a service provider. So does that method of quality management or measuring against SLAs really work when it only seems to serve to frustrate the business and provide a perspective of hiding behind SLAs, when what we're actually trying to do is to deliver world-class service within the confines of the budgets that we've been assigned?
So the whole world of IT management is full of quantitative metrics. When we look at ITIL, we find there are more than 200 predefined, mostly quantitative metrics, like IT cost benchmarks, IT cost per employee, cost per ticket, service desk agent productivity. But we are missing something, and this is the right side of this picture. We are missing set of quality metrics.
And I think everybody can recognize everything on that, the quantitative side, the number of incidents, RFCs, first time fixes, closures, opens, all of that information, the costs, the SLA metrics, customer satisfaction, NPS scores, CES scores. We're now seeing sentiment analysis and things coming into this. But what they're not doing is they're not really showing a level of quality. They're simply showing basic statistical fact, with these numbers, and we're benchmarking those numbers against other IT. So what we're doing is we're inadvertently missing the bit that actually says, what value we bring to an organization, what quality is there within IT, and how we manage that.
Exactly, and this is the problem, that for two different scenarios, paradigms, we use the same logic. The world of external service providers, where the ISO definitions, ISO 9000, 20000, it is fine, working well. But for internal IT, which is integrated within the whole organization, it's not enough. It's not the full picture, full quality picture of IT.
Absolutely, and during the full courses that we have available for the IT Quality Index, we use different games and practical exercises to emphasize this point. If you look at the left-hand side, and you were to think about how to set up a method of measuring this, you could talk about how long or how distant it is from the center, how wide the arrow is, if that's relating to demand volume. You can describe all sorts of different elements, all relating to two separate entities and therefore their relationship. However, if you think about internal IT, it's actually very different. We shouldn't use this concept of internal customers, because it sets the wrong context when the other departments are not contracting with you to gain services. They are collaborating with you in order to make use of the capabilities IT brings. And that is the area of quality that we actually want to communicate effectively, so that you don't have to spend so much time convincing them that your terminology and your methodology tells them that they're getting value for money. You want them to feel that without having to stress that communication so much. Something nice, simple, easy, to be able to clearly define and agree what quality is, and to really show it without missing the most important part.
So the fundamental question, what is IT quality?
So when we think about IT quality, as we've discussed, traditionally we've always talked about ISOs and whether we comply to this and whether we've got this process, that process, it's documented or it's not, or all of this information. IT has a habit of reinventing words. We use a word and then we'll describe it differently to what its common use is, and quality is no different. If you subscribe to the theory that quality is doing what you're told and that it works, then I think that is missing the point. As I explained earlier, if you think back into your own personal life, if all something does is what you asked it to, then what is the real quality, the level of excellence that is delivering? And the Oxford Dictionary already has the definition of this perfectly listed. The standard of something as measured against other things of similar kind. And that's a really fundamental point to keep in mind. It's the measurement against other similar things. So people will naturally measure their experience of having worked with you as a department or as a person based on the best examples they have of similar engagements. And that's what we need to be able to measure and understand and work with.
Exactly, and this is the mental shift. We should change our approach to quality from ISO definition to this Oxford Dictionary definition. And I believe that later on, I really believe that ISO will change or update this definition. It's simply outlived. It's 30 years old, and it's not up to date. It's obsolete.
Absolutely. And, The Oxford Dictionary definition is what any non-IT person will expect when you mention the word. If you use it, this is what they expect you to talk about. So when you start talking about costs and quantitative measures, already they're confused. They have a preconception of what you're about to tell them that is at odds with the content that you're currently using.
So we should differentiate 3 domains of quality. It's product, it's service, and system. For external service providers, the definition of quality per ISO definition is fine, it's correct, because there are 2 different parties. But for internal IT, we should use different logic.
And I think it's really important to frame the fact that there are different contexts, and therefore there is no one-size-fits-all approach. And what is best for one specific area doesn't necessarily mean it's best for another. And if we look at the different levels that we can use here about quality, when you want to look at the whole of IT, which is far more complex than just the products it delivers or just the services it delivers, because it's doing all of that. And if you just add the 2 left-hand columns together, you're still missing a true 360-degree view of the quality of IT within the enterprise.
Exactly. For example, capability to innovate, to bring some new ideas. It's not the SLA approach and meeting requirements. It's not there. So the system approach, level of excellence is broader. So IT Quality Index is looking at IT with broader perspective.
Absolutely. And this is what CEOs are crying out for. In today's world, with disruption happening left, right, and centre, they're looking for ways to innovate, to drive new revenue streams, and really help move the organisation forward. And look, let's face it, almost everything nowadays has some degree of technology involvement. Therefore, IT's importance within the organisation has absolutely grown beyond the traditional confines of ISO compliance and simple service provision.
So when we look at IT quality in general, there are 2 things: presence of good and absence of bad. And this is the unique characteristic of IT Quality Index.
And I think it's really important to point out that the IT Quality Index is the only assessment method which actually takes both positive and negative perspectives on the questions that it uses for measurement of quality. Many times we see it only comes from one perspective. It's either positive or it's negative. Whereas when we use this model, we're able to provide, again, that 360-degree view and be able to get a far more accurate understanding, not only of the perception of IT, but also the perception IT has of itself.
Exactly. So what is IT Quality Index? It's the method, it's documented, and there is some lot of free stuff related to this framework.
Absolutely, and this is available on PDF. You'll be able to get a copy of this, which shows really all of the elements involved in the IT Quality Index, all on one page. The book is also available to use. You don't have to pay any licensing to use the IT Quality Index yourself internally. It is given to advance the knowledge within IT and to provide a better, more accurate measure of quality. And we also have numerous courses available for different levels of staff looking to make use of this quality management, and indeed consultants looking to use this to assess within their customer base.
So what is the benefit? The Quality Index is providing new set of quality metrics like IT quality index as such. It is one figure representing overall IT quality of the whole IT department. And there are several other quality related metrics which are coming or related to IT quality index.
Absolutely. So we're starting to fill in that missing gap to be able to show the actual quality being delivered. So the value that is actually being given to the rest of the organization, not through purely numerical statistics in terms of first time fixes and SLAs and whether we're 99, 98%, whatever. It's about things like how well the collaboration has gone, how we've actually succeeded, how we've worked together. It's taking into account that more and more what we're seeing is that IT is not just a repetitive process of answering simple tickets, break fix as it was once referred to, but it's actually knowledge work. So what we're bringing is the potential for innovation to drive new revenue through the use of technology, but also to impact things like customer experience through the correct use of technology. Not just implementing some technology, but actually knowing how to make the best effect for your organization, which is the skill set and the quality of IT.
Exactly, and here we see some examples. What are the outputs of IT quality index? So the main output is the quality certificate with quality index as a figure, and there are some other complementing graphics coming with this assessment.
The output pack that contains these elements provides everything you need to be able to very easily and clearly communicate value outside of the IT department to executive levels. On many engagements, we have returned sometimes years later to an organization for another discussion to find that they still have their certificate on the wall because they are proud of what they've been able to achieve and how that has directly fed into supporting their strategy in terms of directing investment to the right areas for improvement that have the most positive impact for their organization.
Exactly, and the point is that it's not about improving everything to 100%. It's about finding the proper balance. Every industry is different, and the IT quality index is helping to find the proper balance between costs and quality.
Exactly. It's not about complying against a standard. It's about measuring yourself against the best possible or the maximum potential that you can get in your situation.
And here are some pictures from IT quality index assessments, and from my experience, the people who are receiving this quality certificate are quite happy that somebody is providing some quality certification. In most cases, the people are really proud of getting this certificate, and of course, if the result is good, they are more happier. But in general, this is something what was missing in IT industry in general. We didn't have for almost 3 decades. There was no quality assessment, which would be somehow finding or providing some good or confirmation of good work in IT.
Yeah, and certainly the conversations that I have with CIOs and heads of IT functions is that having gone through the rigorous process with the IT quality index and understanding clearly the logic behind it and how this provides a very strong position in terms of quality that is easily communicated, is something that they are incredibly proud of, and they do share with their colleagues, both internally and externally to IT, and indeed outside their organization. We've had referrals from different organizations because they've seen this and they like the idea and want to progress with it. It's a new way to provide not just the measurement of quality, but to provide a more positive view of IT within organizations.
Yes, exactly. IT industry needs to promote high quality work of people in IT. Because if we think about this, frequently people in IT are only blamed when something goes wrong, but only very, very rarely they receive some congratulation or confirmation of high quality of their work.
Absolutely, and that impacts employee engagement, which is something that we do need to think about in terms of our colleagues and who we work with and how we work with them, both inside and outside of IT. We're all in this together, and we need to create that positive perspective and really help to communicate that value to those outside of our immediate function.
Thank you, John, for joining me.
You're more than welcome.
I hope that this framework will help some people in better promotion and communication of what IT is doing.
Absolutely. For more information, you can indeed use the links below or contact either myself or Zdenek. We are available on LinkedIn and Twitter, or indeed through either the ITSMF or SDI. Many thanks.
Thank you. Bye.